Hey there, welcome to Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. I want to talk today about making good use of space. So in my garden I have a lot of things planted for this winter garden. In Zone 9 here on the Texas coast we can grow all through the year, and I'm going to grow a winter garden. Well, it doesn't feel like winter. Man, I'm sweating. I've been working out here quite a bit of the day, pulling up my old fire pit, going to move it. Making some plans for expanding the garden perhaps, and it's hot. But right now, October, middle of October, is not too late. In fact, if you look at the chart of your extension office, hopefully your extension office publishes one, they should give you good planting times and sowing times. And a lot of my crops that I'm putting in now, right now is the ideal time to put those crops out there. So that's what we're going to do. So I've been working on my fall garden, and I've got some links. I can show you what we've done so far in sowing our garden part 1 and 2. You can go watch those videos. But this bed over here didn't have all of the surface area sown. I had some open space. Not only that, I have some slow crops like cabbages and Brussels sprouts. Those take a long time to mature. I won't be eating cabbage until February or March, and so that takes a long time. So in the space that's so open right amongst those cabbages, I can use that space. And I can plant faster crops. You can multi-sow your garden with different kinds of things that mature at different times, and you can make good use of the space you've got. So I've got some space, not only open space, but I've got some space that is in between my slower growing plants that I can sow with things like radishes. Radishes come up really quick and they mature really quick, and by the time those radishes are ready to come out, well, I'll pull them out and my cabbages will still not quite be mature. And that's the key lesson of this video. For example, cabbages and radish. Cabbages grow slow, radishes grow fast. And so as your crops grow up together, the radishes outpace the cabbages. And when the radishes are mature, you can harvest them, and then your slower crops like cabbages can come to fruition by themselves. So we're going to put some radishes in, we're going to put some carrots in today, we're going to put some bok choy in today, and some perpetual spinach. And I'm going to plant regular blocks in my garden, but I'm also going to interplant among my cabbages some quicker growing crops. I want to make good use of space. And so right here is the last little bit of my garden I haven't sown yet, and I'm going to put in some Swiss chard. This is perpetual spinach. It's a chard that tastes like spinach. I've grown it through the winter, through the summers here. It's one of the best things that you can grow in Zone 9A in the heat. In the cold. This stuff is just indestructible. The only thing that destroyed this over a season and a half a few years ago was spider mites. But I'm going to sow some of this in here, and chard sometimes takes a little while to come up, but in this heat it should come up, relatively soon. My carrots were up in 3 days. Normally they take a week. This takes 2 to 3 weeks to come up. We'll see if it comes up any sooner. I have prepared my soil, and I have a whole video on that. You can go watch that right up there. And we got the soil ready to go. It's nice and fluffy. This little bit of soil I actually did loosen up a bit, and some of it I turned a little bit because I'm going to put some carrots in here as well. And this was pretty compacted soil, hadn't been loosened up in a long time. But for right now, what I'm going to do in this little area right here is I'm going to broadcast some seed, and we're going to see what we get. I'm placing these stakes in the garden so that I'll have some defined regions in which to sow my seed. So I'll know what comes up when it comes up, and I can see what comes up faster. Perpetual spinach is a Swiss chard. It's a variety of, it's in the same family as beets. And so the seeds are just like beet seeds. They're little pods that have multiple seeds in them. And I can successfully sow beet seeds in this way, so we should be fine by broadcasting these little seed pods all over the garden, just like so. Now these bok choy seeds are pretty small. They look like that. So I'm going to put this whole thing in there because these seeds are 5 years old. I don't know how the germination rate's going to be on these, but we'll find out. When broadcasting seeds, you try to evenly distribute them over the surface of the soil, and then just take a rake and rake them in. Now when I say rake them in, I don't mean, make them go super deep. All we're doing is mixing up the top surface of the soil. And in the process, many of your seeds will find their way deeper into the soil, many will remain on the surface, and some will be right where you need them to be. And so by raking in your broadcast seeds, you're probably going to get a pretty good germination rate. So This is a traditional way of sowing seeds. It worked for me in my other beds, and it's probably going to work here too. What I'm doing here is just covering over the seeds lightly with some potting soil, and that helps to ensure the seeds have good contact with fine soil. And this stuff holds moisture really well, and so when we water it in, those seeds should snuggle down into that really kind of coarse dirt and give us a better chance of germination. I'm also going to plant some carrots and some radishes. Now radishes will come up and be out in a couple of months, so I'm going to plant some radishes here and there around my garden just for fun. I have a lot of different kinds of radishes that I like, and I haven't planted them yet. So first of all, we're going to put some carrot seeds in. These are these little Parisian carrots. On this side I'm going to put some Danvers half-longs. These are good carrots if you've got chunky soil or hard soil, or your soil's not real deep. They're called half-longs because they only grow about 6 inches long, and they're nice little carrots. So I'm going to put some in here as well. This is fresher seed, and I've got some planted in my other bed. We're going to go ahead and put some here as well. I'm over sowing so that I can come back and thin later on. And all I'm going to do here is just lightly cover the soil with my hand. So just along here by my Brussels sprouts, I'm going to plug in some radish seed, and they should be done pretty quick. Part of the idea here is just plant some garden surprises here and there. So I'm just going to do a little trench here, loosen up the soil, put some radish seeds in here. Now I'm going to space these out pretty good because I don't want to have to thin these guys too much, because I don't have very many seeds here, and so I want them just to grow up and be ready to pick. So about 1.5 to 2 inches apart, because these are pretty large radishes. Take some of this finer dirt over here. All right, we have some radishes planted. I'll put some more. Hey, little fella, I'm gonna put some more right here. Again, these will be long gone before my Brussels sprouts need this area. So we're just gonna plug some things in our garden just for kicks. It's hard to go wrong with radishes. They grow so quickly. They're such a good return for your money. They're satisfying to pull them out of the ground. Yeah, you can't go wrong with radishes. I'm about out of space in my raised beds now. I'm gonna have to start thinking about these containers and what I can plant in those. This one here has cilantro in it. So yeah, you can grow a whole lot in the wintertime here in Zone 9 on the Texas coast. You can grow straight through the winter, and usually if you pick the right kinds of vegetables, greens, and root crops, you can grow those straight through a frost, straight through. If we have a cold snap, they usually make it. Last year, nothing died in the cold, nothing at all. I don't know, if we have a really icy winter or we have some hard freezes, we might lose some things. But you're not going to lose your carrots in this climate. You're not going to lose your root crops most likely, and hopefully we won't lose anything. Now, one of the problems I have in my garden is when I sow my seeds in the soil directly, the soil is nice and fluffy, and it's really tempting for my neighbor's cats to come over and dig through it. It's also a problem when I have a dog who likes to walk through my garden. And I don't mind her in my garden as long as the plants are large. She knows not to step on them, doesn't do any trouble. But when they're small and little like this, I get dog footprints right through the middle of my seed bed, and that's no fun. But I'll show you what I'm going to do with those seeds we just sowed. To keep the cat from digging them up, I'm going to put a cage, and actually it's an old dog kennel, and I've been using different kinds of materials just to lay on top of the soil until those sprouts start coming up, and I can see them, and they get large enough where the surface of the soil is not tempting anymore for a cat. So I'm going to put that up there. I've also used hog wire fencing. In fact, I've got some right in front of me over my carrots down, or my spinach down here, and I'll show you what that looks like too. Small piece, that's about all I've got left from years of using this stuff in my garden. Most of it's rusting and falling apart, the wires disconnect. But I just lay it over just like that, and once the sprouts come up, you can take it off. That keeps cats out, keeps my dog out. So what we're going to do over here is I'm going to put that dog kennel over my garden. Cage obviously doesn't cover the whole width, but it covers most of it, and that's what I'm mainly interested in. I found that if you've got it mostly covered, it deters the cats. I can't bring this all the way down because I have this pepper plant in the way, so we'll just prop it up there. But that ought to work. In my garden, I have limited space. You can see that it's a fairly large suburban backyard garden, but as far as gardens go, you never have enough space, and this is a really small garden compared to someone who has like a homestead or has some acres. So I would try to maximize my growing space. So what if I want to plant more stuff? Well, I plant stuff in smaller little beds. I plant things in containers. Make the use of the space where I can. This is a 2x6 bed that I put in last year. In fact, I built this in December of last year, and it's had success, and it's growing right now some radishes. It's growing some pepper plants that are leftovers from the summer, and right in there I could put some more radishes or some more things that come up pretty quick. Or if I wanted to, I could just plant greens and lettuces in there and let them grow up around those pepper plants. If the pepper plants make it through the winter, well, I'll have peppers in the spring. But yeah, and I put in another 2x6 bed on the side over here. I also grow things in containers underneath my muscadine vineyard, which grows along this little stretch. This is actually a very smart, if I say so myself, use of space, because when my muscadines need sun, there's no shadow over here from my house. Right now the sun casts a shadow pretty much all the time, but during the growing season and when these muscadines ripen, just this little sliver of space on the side of my house has sun from 8 in the morning to 8 in the evening, and these have really grown well for me. So you can put in even large things like a vineyard almost. This is my micro vineyard. There are 4 muscadine vines here, and you can put them in even if you've got limited space, if you're creative about it and you think about where the sun falls on your property. Another use of space that I have done in the past, and I'm going to be doing this year, is notice the wasted space. These holes here, they're not really wasted if you use them, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a single lettuce plant in each of these holes. And so while my main crops are growing here, these are peas over here, and that's going to be spinach over there, I could put things in these holes. And traditionally, way over there you can see a remnant of it, I would plant flowers and pollinator attractors, things that bring bees in and bugs and give beauty to the garden. Man, I had so many marigolds this summer and all kinds of different zinnias and flowers growing in those holes. And that's a good use of space. Otherwise, you just grow weeds in them and it frustrates you. So that's what I'll do this year, is I'm going to put lettuce in there. I've got my lettuce growing right here. Here's all my lettuce starts that we started not too long ago, and they're starting to come up. Everything is sprouting, some slower than others. We're going to have a lot of lettuce. So there we have it, making use of space and sowing some seeds in your garden that are going to be quicker than the seeds that are already out there, or sowing next to established crops that take a long time, putting in some things that are really quick. That's how you can make good use of your space in your garden. That's how you can have food on the table year-round. It can be done. Thanks for joining me. Please like our videos, share them if you haven't, subscribe, please do, and follow us on Instagram, and we will talk to you next time. Happy gardening to you. Bye-bye.